Episode 66, Building Stronger Relationships. Welcome to Longing for More, where Christians come to strengthen their faith, revive their soul, and learn to live their lives with a sense of fulfillment and peace. Listen each week to learn how to incorporate your faith into your daily activities, stop wandering through life feeling empty and unfulfilled, and begin to live your more. Let's get started. Hey everyone, I am so excited. Today I have what I consider to be just one of the most amazing coaches that I've met. She has such a wonderful mission in this world, and I recently met her at conference and we just hit it off immediately, and I'm so excited to invite her to be, I've already invited her, she's here. I'm excited to have her as a guest on the podcast today, and I would like to introduce to you Gina, and I'm going to let her start out by telling you all a little bit about herself and how she got into this work. So Gina, take it away.
Hi, Ivana, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I am so excited and grateful to be here. My name is Gina Cassano. I am a transformation coach and relationship strategist, and founder of Mindshift coaching services, as well as Teen Life, Teen Strong. And what I do is I work with leaders in technology who struggle with nourishing and growing their relationships and want to avoid separation or divorce. And so what I do is I help them reconnect with their partner so that they can fall back in love.
That is so beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
So tell me. Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to just give a little bit of context around how I came to that, if that would be okay.
That was going to be my question, so go for it.
And so what I realized as, in my former self, as a business coach for a software technology company, that how we show up in our personal relationships affects how we show up in every aspect of our life. And so what I mean by this is that when things are unsettled at home, we take that heaviness and that weight and that burden with us, and it comes out with who we're being at work and how we show up and everywhere else, right? And so what I've seen, in my experience working for this company and specifically coaching leaders in technology and their teams on becoming high performing and more collaborative, was what I found was that many challenges began with leaders and how they showed up each day, right? And so the ones that were unhappy or unsettled with something going on at home, a toxic relationship, or those on the brink of divorce or health-related issues or something going on at home, is that it would come out in the way that they communicated with others, the way that they led, including their teams, colleagues, and clients. So that negativity, that heaviness, and that misery would manifest in everything they do. The business impact of that, and this is really where it comes from, what I've seen personally was that there was a lack of shared vision on their teams. There was a lack of communication and relationship building and collaboration. This caused big problems that would arise on the team, and the leaders were not able to effectively move the organization forward with ease. And so making time to nourish and grow your relationships at home will have a positive effect on who you're being, but not only for yourself, for all other aspects of your life, including business relationships, and therefore the business.
Right. Yes, that is so true. And I keep thinking as you're talking about how, that paradigm that we learn, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. And that took a while for that to really settle in for me. It didn't ring true until I just started experiencing that in different places in my life. And as you were talking about that, that's exactly what was coming up for me, is truly, if we aren't happy in one area of our life, we're not going to be happy in truly any area of our life. I mean, it just spills all over the place, right?
Yeah. And if you think about it, how many times you've met someone who was miserable at work, right, and then they would go home and take it out on their family. So it goes both ways.
And that was what I was thinking, is that it might be difficult sometimes to pull it apart and figure out where it starts. Are you miserable at home and you're taking that to work? Or are you miserable at work and taking it home? And I don't know that it matters, because if you're miserable, we need to figure out why and get to the root of that. So I really love what you're doing, especially in the field that you're working in, because that is a very high stress industry, and long hours, and just a huge commitment when somebody gets into the technology world. So
Thank
um,
you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So tell me, what kinds of people are you working with in your coaching in that?
I'm working with all levels of leaders, and leaders could be, senior level, C-level executives,
Mm-hmm.
also managers, right? I also work with individuals, like, so it could be a professional individual or just an individual who's having a relationship struggle with themselves or with their partner, couples. And I also, a passion of mine, and it's just a part of what I integrated into my business, is Teen Life, Teen Strong. And it's a program that I designed and developed to support teenagers
Yeah.
and parents.
Tell us a little bit about that. I really believe that um, that's an area we don't focus enough on our future leaders, the people who are going to be running our country, our world someday. And I love the fact that you are reaching down to them and helping them get stabilized. So tell us a little bit about that, if you would.
So I realized that, I was thinking back, right? Because as we grow ourselves and transform ourselves, as part of that is looking inward and seeing where we need support or where we could have used support. And so when I was a teenager, I could have really used that support and guidance from a perspective of a mentor,
Mhm.
right? And a coach, rather than having someone just tell you what to do and how to think and how to be. And right. So then there's a lack of showing up as your authentic self and having a voice. And so what I found was teenagers want to talk.
Yes.
And so they just need a safe, non-judgmental space to do it in. And sometimes it's not comfortable to talk with a parent about things that are going on because the parents are in it with them, right? So they might be not really in it with the teenager, like how they're feeling and showing up at school and the things that they're experiencing, but they're in the middle of it, like in that relationship, that family dynamic. And so being able to step out of being in it with them can be challenging and struggle, which is why kids don't normally share so much with their parent. And then there's the communication gap, right? There's the expectations that parents have, and there's the kids not being able to share effectively because they don't know how to communicate. So
Right.
there's an expectation from the family and the parents and the school and the teachers and their friends and everyone else around them and their own expectations. And yet they haven't learned how to effectively communicate what it is that they're feeling and why and what they'd like to be experiencing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So then,
It's interesting because back when my children were younger, I used to teach Sunday school, and I kind of started when they were young and followed them all the way up. And when I was teaching high school, what I always thought was interesting was I only had like maybe 5 or 6 kids a week, but the weeks when there would only be like one kid show up, I would always give them the opportunity to say, if you don't want to hang out with just me, that's fine. I don't remember a time when any of them ever left. It was like they were so hungry to have an adult to just sit and talk to, and they would just start jabbering, and they just go on and on and on about all the things in their life. And it always warmed my heart so much that they felt that they could share with me those things in their lives. And it doesn't always have to be really deep things, but just it was like finally they had an audience, and they didn't have to worry about somebody else in the class judging them and what they were saying or what they were doing. And so I love that you're working with teens that way. So tell me, what does that look like? How are you working with them?
so I do work with them individually, one-on-one, for those who need a little bit more support. And it might be just overwhelm and anxiety and stress. Boundaries comes into play consistently.
Yeah.
Confidence, time management, work overload. So I'll work with them like that, but I'll also work with the parent and the team. So I have a program that's designed specifically so where I can work with the teen and the parent both separately, and then one session together, right? So it's kind of like letting them feel authentic and safe so they can share, and then letting the parent feel authentic and safe so they can share, and then bringing them together and guide them, because it's confidential,
Yeah.
and just guide them to communicate and show up for themselves and have that voice. And then I have a group. So I coach teens from my local community. It's my give back. It's, I have space at the local library, and I'll do a round circle. We're sitting in chairs. It's very informal. And I'll explain to them the difference between, coaching and mentoring and therapy, right? Because so many people don't know. And I'll talk to them about ground rules. I create this safe space. So it's a non-judgmental safe space, so they can show up and feel comfortable knowing that what happens in the group stays in the group.
Yeah.
It won't be shared at school. It won't be shared with their parent. And I've had parents try to come in, try to get information out of me, try to sit in at the group. I had the school social work department try to get in and bring in some administrators to sit in on the group. And, that takes away the integrity of what I'm trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
So I will share some of the things that have come up in the group, not personally,
Right.
but some of the general things like the work overload, the learning how to communicate, the feeling safe, the boundaries, all these expectations, how to manage their time and their friends. And, it's exhausting. These teens show up with anxiety and they feel depleted, and, yet they need to continue to strive, because it's all about success means the grades and the certificates and the awards. But the thing of it is just success is what you believe success is, and it's different for everyone.
Sounds like you're talking my language, girl. Live your more. Start when you're a teenager, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I too, my program, I'm reaching back, and I'm not going all the way back to the teens, but I'm working with professional women who, they have all the success in life, but they're feeling lost and empty, and wanting to reach back and help them find the things that are important and reconnect with the things that are important. And so I think it's really important for those of us who have lived through some of those things to be able to give back that way. And so I think it's really beautiful that you're doing what you're doing. And so let me ask you this. So you're doing some really great things, both you're coaching with your people in technology and with the teens. Is it always in person? If someone that's listening to this isn't where you are, can they find you somehow? How would they find you?
Yes, absolutely. So aside from the teen groups, the majority of my sessions, and I have clients all over the world. And so I have clients in Europe. I have clients in, everywhere, all over the country, South America. So it's really interesting to see. And I do video conferencing. So just like a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm. Like we're doing right now?
Like we're doing right now. Or I will also just do a telephone call. We can do it over the phone, depending on how comfortable someone feels.
Right.
I prefer the video because it just helps build a relationship, I feel like. But it can certainly be done over the phone as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Excellent. So how do they find you?
So you can go to my website, which is mindshiftcoaching.com. So it's MINDSHIFTCOACHING.com. So mindshiftcoaching.com. And there's an About Me page, there's a contact form, and they can schedule a discovery session.
Awesome. Tell me, what's a discovery session? I know, but just in case my listeners don't.
So a discovery session is really just a conversation that we'll have to determine what it is that you'd like to have, the struggles that you're having, the challenges, and try to help see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, right? And so to determine whether, we can work together, whether we're a good fit, if it's something that I feel like I can support you on, or if you feel comfortable working with me. So the discovery session really is seeing how we work together, telling you a little bit about my program, and then offering one of the packages that I feel is right for that individual.
Right.
And I've even gone as far as customizing a package for someone that what I had already just didn't feel right. So I'm willing to do that as well.
That's awesome. And I think it's important for people to understand, there's so many different kinds of programs and offerings and things out in the world. And so many times when somebody's invited into a conversation like that, it quickly becomes a hard sell.
Mhm.
And I know, having worked with you and having trained beside you, that that is not how we operate. It's a conversation. It's all about service and giving people what they need in that place. And people can walk away without ever having another conversation if it's not exactly the right fit for both of you.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's important to spell that out here, that it's really an act of service, that
Yes.
that discovery session. And
Thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. And
yeah,
I've also, you know, um, had people who wanted to work with me but weren't really ready for change.
right,
So yes, they wanted something different, but they weren't open to coaching. So you have to be open and ready.
right,
And so if now's not the good, a good time, maybe in the future it will be. I've also referred someone that I've had a discovery session with to another coach that I thought might be a better fit. And so that's just how we operate. It's really about being in service, like you mentioned, and what we can do to support others. That's why, at least for me, I know that that's why I became a coach.
right. And I think sometimes probably our biggest roadblock to reaching out and having that call is that fear, that unknown, and not being sure about opening up about ourselves in a call like that. And so I think it's important for people to understand that, um, having that call with you or me or any other coach in this realm anyway is really a non-threatening conversation that's all about them. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I love that as well. So I one of the questions, because the name of this podcast or my podcast is Longing for More, I would love to ask, has there been a time in your life when you had that sense that really, is this all there is? Is it, there's got to be more. My heart just longs for something more than what I have right now. Can you share something about that?
Oh, yes. So a few years back when I was working in the corporate environment, and I loved what I did as a business coach, and I made wonderful connections. And some of them I still, I consider family, right? But I still felt like something was missing. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew that I wasn't living my true, authentic purpose. And so, as a caring and empathetic woman with a passion for supporting others on their journey, I decided to quit my corporate job and go into coaching. And so I started my certifications, which I've completed them all. And, you know, my morals and values were different. They weren't aligned with the corporate mindset, right? So I'm a people first person,
Easy for you
where
to
it's
say.
and the bottom line for an organization or a business of that type is money.
Yeah.
And so, yes, money is important because you need that to have the business. But I believe in humans first. And so it wasn't aligned with my morals and values, and I was feeling it. And so that's when I decided to focus on building my own practice.
Yeah. Cool. You're reminding me that I too, I was actually in a company that was very much in alignment with my morals and values. But I found that sometimes individuals would, whether it was that, frustration and overwhelm and anger that we talked about earlier in the conversation or whatever, but there would be people that um, would kind of get off track from the overall feel that we wanted to have in that corporation. And I found that sometimes it's not necessarily completely removing yourself from that environment, but being able to either reframe the way that you look at that relationship or that incident, and being able to have a stronger voice about having a positive impact in the environment that you're in. So for me, I think what I'm trying to say is, so many times people like you and I get to that point where our longing for more, our calling really is to move on, to be able to have a greater impact in the world. But sometimes, like for me, my coaching is about helping people be the best that they can be wherever they are. You don't have to make a huge life change to be
Right.
able to become a better person and to live your best life. And I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in our huge transformation and all of these gigantic moves that we made starting a new life that people are like, oh, that's not for me. And really it can be. Like even back in your relationships, the conversation that we started with about, that individual, that professional who's having struggles at work and at home. They may not need to start a whole new career or a whole new relationship. They just need to figure out who they are inside and become a better person.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
mastery starts within.
Right, right. So I just wanted to bring that out because there may be people listening that are thinking, I'm 3 years from retirement. I'm not going to start over again. And you can start over again right where you are. You don't have to make a huge outward change.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a shift in your mindset, right? A
Right.
perspective. And sometimes it's also just learning new ways to communicate. And that will change your entire relationship dynamic.
Absolutely. I
They're
love
just the
that.
smallest things.
Right. Okay. Another question that I always love to ask is, do you have a favorite scripture or saying that you would like to share with the audience today?
I do. And it's from Maya Angelou. It's on my email signatures. And the saying is, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Isn't that the truth? That's very beautiful. So awesome. Well, this has been lovely. I have enjoyed this conversation so much. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you really feel compelled to share with our listeners today?
You know, what really creates a fire in my soul
Mhm.
is having someone say to me, because of you, I am healthier and my relationship is stronger and more fulfilled. Or because of you, my partner and I are going to continue to work and grow our relationship. And this comes from the mindset of what it means to be in a true partnership. So that's really my purpose, is like to align myself fully into what I'm meant to do and support others on their journey to cultivating deep and meaningful relationships, not only with others, but also with themselves.
Awesome. I think that is so beautiful. And I can see where that would be so rewarding to have that conversation with someone. So wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. This has been so beautiful. And I know that there are people out there that needed to hear this very message today. And thank you so much for taking the time. And I will put your information in the show notes so people can find you. And let's continue this conversation another time.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the invitation to be on here with you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. All my pleasure. Well, that was it, folks. I told you she was pretty amazing. Was I right? So anyway, we all know how important relationships are, but I think sometimes we don't realize how deep it goes if we're in a troubled relationship, whether it's at home or at work, how it can filter through and affect our whole lives. So if you know of someone who, or if you yourself are struggling in a relationship at home or with with work, your spouse, your child, I really encourage you to look Gina up and see if she might be able to help you out. I will again put her link to her website in my show notes. But just remember that anytime you want to find information that's on this podcast or my blog or anything, you are always able to find links from my website, which is VonaJohnson.com. That's VonaJohnson.com. So there's always links to all of this. If you're talking to somebody and you think, they need this, you can always refer them that way if it's easier to remember that. Something I also wanted to point out is I have a fun little challenge coming up starting on the 26th. And it's just a short 5 day, and it won't take a lot of time each of the days, but 5 days to reconnect to the things that matter. I hope that you will join me in this little challenge and start to really focus on the things that matter to you in your life. And to get connected with that, I would like you to hop over to my new Facebook community. It is connected with this podcast, Longing for More. It's called Live Your More Community. So all you need to do is search for Live Your More Community, ask to join, and we will get information out on that 5 day challenge that starts on the 26th in just a few days. So, anyway, thank you so much for stopping by today. I know that your time is precious, and it means so much to me that you stopped by. If you enjoyed this interview, I hope that you'll stop back. I'll have others coming up over the weeks that are to come. And as always, I would be greatly appreciated if you would go to iTunes and leave a comment. So now, today, just go be blessed and live your more.